Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of the Rob Safe Sports Podcast. And today we got another great guest on the show. We have local legend, local celebrity here today with us, the one of the leaders of the Batum Battalion. We got Clipper Spencer. Spencer, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. That was too nice. Wow. I haven't been a legend anywhere in my whole life except for the last like 3 months or whatever.
Yeah, I know it's been kind of like a crazy season for you because I've seen you around in the
Mhm.
Twitters and like the questions over in like the different podcasts. But I think this season it felt like you kind of rose up and became, extremely popular with the Clipper Nation fans this season.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's it's completely just awe-inspiring, and I'm amazed by it. But that was the Batum Battalion picture I sent that started this whole thing off. Was the first time I ever posted a picture of myself on Twitter. It was like I was
Oh, okay.
not trying to be seen.
Hmm.
Uh, so it was just I dressed up it like it, so I felt I had to, and then it just grew legs and ran away from me.
Yeah, like the first reveal for your social media presence is always it's always a very interesting time when you first reveal your face because usually like on social media sometimes you'll get just random pictures on accounts and you don't really know who the person is, but like
Yeah.
matching it with the face to the account, I think it makes it like a little bit more personable, regardless if we're not being like face to face or anything, but it's still like daunting to put yourself out there. But I mean, when you did, I think it really grew and grew to I don't even know if other people really thought it would be like as big as it has been this season.
Yeah, I mean, it really coincided with the Clippers just taking off. And I mean, we obviously got to the Western Conference final for the first time ever. So I think I was just lucky to be along for the ride. I kind of rode on those coattails.
Yeah, and so like the first thing I wanted to start with is like you know how you became a Clipper fan because I think that's always an interesting question for people who are Clipper fans. Like obviously, with the city of LA, you got the Lakers here, you got a whole bunch of different LA teams and like different sports. So it's always interesting to figure out like what was the beginning and what was like your whole start becoming a fan of the Clippers.
100%. I mean, it's I just didn't have a team in high school, and basketball was something that I would always been kind of interested in. Like, I mean, obviously everyone loved the Lakers and Kobe and stuff, but I've always been kind of an underdog guy. So I was just looking to get into a team, and the Lakers didn't feel right. And the Clippers, just something about them, like the fact that they never won anything and they were so bad, especially when I was looking for a team in like 2010. I mean, it was awful. That I think it was Blake's. He had just been drafted and then he missed that whole year or something with an
Yeah, he
injury.
injured his knee during like the summer league and he was out for the for the whole season.
Which is like the most Clipper thing ever. We get
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
number
is.
one pick, yeah. But then I think the reason why I stuck with it, and I think a lot of people stick with it, is because there's so much, like the world's against us. So there's only one way to fight it, and it's with genuine love of the team. And I think the fan base really loves the team. I think you see that passion more so than any other team because no one's in the shadow of this like juggernaut.
Yeah, truly, because like I don't think there's any other team besides the Clippers that really have essentially are the little brothers
Mhm.
in Los Angeles. You have the Dodgers and the Angels, but they're like in two different cities, so you can still
Mhm.
like distinguish them by
Yeah.
themselves. But yeah, it's an interesting location and just kind of a sporting area to have so many teams in LA and
Mhm.
have two different LA teams in the NBA. And so, obviously with the Lakers, you have just like go down the list of just historic players, like historic franchise and stuff like that. And that's very appealing to people because people here in LA, they like winners. They want to root for winners all the time. And there's no reason why the Lakers would be, an appealing destination for people to root for. But like you said, with the Clippers, it's very, you really have to love the team regardless of, the past, like just the decades on decades of like past losing, just the amount of kind of like turmoil that the team has been through like the entire time here. But I think now it's been really been paying off for the fans, and to see that kind of commitment and to see that excitement being rewarded now.
Oh, 100%. I mean, since Balmer took over, it's a whole new team. I mean, he spares no expense. He cares about how the fans experience the games. And I mean, you can tell by the product, it's so much better. Even going to the games is a better experience. It's more fun. He's just done an amazing job. So ever since really 2014, it's been a whole new thing almost. But yeah, and I mean it's hard being a Clippers fan sometimes because it's like people are very antagonistic towards us, and I have no idea why. Uh, I don't think I would care if a team was terrible that I didn't like. I think I would prefer that, but people seem to be very mad at it.
It could be maybe a little bit of like insecurity within their own fandom or something, but it's I find it very, I would say now, a little bit amusing at times
Hmm.
when the lengths that they'll go to, to
Yeah,
try and to try and what I would say like fan police like
yeah,
other teams and
hmm,
stuff like that. But you can't really do anything about it.
yeah,
I it could be friendly banter at times,
hmm,
but other times it's just like, okay, well, kind of
yeah.
kind of going a little bit overboard. But I mean, that's your choice. That's not mine. Like, I'm not gonna watch the Lakers play their season. Like, I'm gonna watch my team play this
Yeah,
season. So I
exactly.
mean,
I'm not gonna scan their box score to just like clown on Paul George or their version of Paul George. But yeah, it's like it's wild. So, but that breeds like love because it can be hard, and the only reason you can stick through that is if you genuinely care and are invested. If these guys win, and now I've become like way too invested. It's like a legit problem, and I have to like tell myself don't talk about the Clippers all the time, um, despite that's what I'm only thinking about.
yeah, I get that too sometimes. Sometimes I get too wrapped up in it sometimes. I just gotta
Mhm.
take a little bit of a break. But I mean, that's what this off season is for. But you know, uh going what you said about like Steve Ballmer owning the team, he
Mhm.
went when he came in. I think you're always worried about when new ownership comes, because they always want to put their kind of like fingerprints on it. They want to do all the stuff. They want to sign other players. They want to kind of be more hands on, even though if they're not
Mhm.
that experienced with it. And I think the
Mhm.
good thing with Ballmer is that you know although he's the owner and he can make the final decisions, I think he's smart enough to know that I can hire people who are very experienced in doing this and like put my trust in them, and then they would be able to do the job like correctly, instead of trying to manage every little thing that goes around an organization. So I think that helps too. Like
Exactly.
he doesn't have an ego where he has to have like everything to go through him, like every small detail stuff like that. And I think that kind of helps with the Clippers as well.
Yeah, you can definitely tell he trusts the people around him that know more than him to advise him correctly. And I mean, it's so nice because I know if I was the governor of a team, I would have cried at the Patrick Beverly trade and told Lawrence Frank he can't do this. No. So it's just like I'm way too emotional. I wouldn't be able to handle it. And for a guy who's so passionate, like you can see he's on the sidelines just as passionate as any of us fans, you know. So the fact that he's got that restraint is kind of amazing.
Yeah, because he's one of like the richest people in the world, and like he owns a basketball team. But I think he's smart enough to know that if I can do whatever I need to do to help the franchise succeed and just like have fun at the games, I mean that's probably the best that's probably the best life you could have at this point.
100%. I mean, that's what I want. I keep telling him to adopt me. I yell it from the stands, but he doesn't hear.
Yeah. And to go with Balmer, I mean, we just had the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Clipper Stadium, the
Mhm.
Intuit Dome. And it's pretty surreal because I think was it 3 or 4 years ago, they kind of were hinting at, you know, moving and like building a stadium because they had like concept art already brought out. And then like 3 or 4 years later, we're here now and they're breaking ground in Inglewood and building a stadium to be ready in 2024. And I'm just wondering because I know you were on the segment with Fox LA. I did something a little
Mhm.
bit for Fox
Yeah.
LA, but I just want to get your your feelings about getting a new stadium for the Clippers.
So I mean, there's two big aspects, and everyone's talking about it on social media and stuff. That as a basketball fan of, it's like amazing. I mean, I've always been jealous of like every sports stadium that has like a built-in advantage. Like Oracle used to be just like the worst place in the world to go play, and I just remember watching it and being like, Chris Paul cannot even think out there. And then like Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City, yeah, I'm super jealous of. And then it looks like Steve Ballmer is planning to build the best one of all of them. I mean, every idea, like, I mean, he's just thought of everything. It seems like he's not doing it for the money. He's doing it to give his team an advantage, which is just awesome. And, but then there's the other side of like gentrification in Inglewood, which is a real issue. And I know people have concerns about it. And like, they should. It's happened before. It happened with Staples Center, but um, I on that front, I definitely think at least it's Steve Ballmer who's the one building this arena because he has really shown a willingness to give back to the community that he's participating in, and like he even made Intuit donate just $1 million to their school system, to LAUSD, for just out of the blue. That was just announced at the same time as the naming rights. So, uh, on like a social worldview, I think there's maybe some issues people could have with it, but as a fan, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, the number of facilities alone, which is their toilet scenario, I guess there's 22 fans to every toilet, so it's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, more toilets is a necessity for
Yeah.
stadiums. But I know I hear what you're saying about with bringing like a new stadium and building like a giant stadium in a city. there's always that question of, gentrification and like rent prices going up and, pushing people out. But, I really hope, and it feels like that, they've learned from the past, and how, doing that doesn't set doesn't set a good precedent in the city. And, them trying to make sure that the people there, the businesses there are, going to be protected and are going to be taken care for, like if something like that happens. But, we can always go to that if it ever comes to that. But, with the new stadium, and then also because I think it was this week or last week, one of their partners are with Aspiration.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm pretty sure it's a bank that helps fight climate change.
Mm-hmm.
Like the money that's used to fund, I think, different climate change groups, like different activist groups and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're making the strides, they're making the moves, and like to make sure that, you know the stadium being built is gonna hopefully cause like the least amount of gentrification or anything else that would hurt the community in any way.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're talking about it at all is like such a good sign. I think they built the stadium out of some sort of concrete that reduces CO2 in the air somehow. Uh, but yeah, so I definitely think Steve Ballmer has shown this commitment, and I really think he's like a smart businessman. He knows he can't alienate fans in that way. He knows he can't like turn the people of Inglewood against him, and that's why we keep seeing like initiatives where he gives glasses out to school children or backpacks or renovates a bunch of courts. He's been doing this all the time, and it seems like the players are being encouraged to do that too with all their initiatives that they're holding. So I just hope it turns out okay. But like I said, from a basketball perspective, it's going to be the best. I mean, it's going to be so much better for what the Clippers need, because we need that like small, like super loyal, ravenous fan feel versus the huge, we're like unlimited feel that Staples Center gives off, where it's just so big and iconic, but it kind of swallows the noise, and you need just the legion of fans that the Lakers have to really make it feel, uh, to make it go crazy. Or you have to be Terrence Mann and score 39 points.
Yeah, or that, like,
Yeah.
that's one of the options.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, looking at kind of like the different stuff that they're going to put in, they're going to have what looks to be almost like a college level atmosphere. With, I think he said something about he was going to have standing room only seats for fans at opposing benches, and call it the wall. Like, I think that's really cool. That's really, innovative to think about, and to think of all these things that could be, you know they might not be like big things at first, but once you go to the games, I mean, then you could feel the atmosphere at the game. So yeah, looking forward to going to the dome in
One
2024.
100%. I mean, I might know a little bit more about that than I feel like I can say right now, but yeah, there's some big plans in the works for the fan experience and that like that wall of sound he's trying to create. Uh, but I'm just like Jake Burns on your last episode. I know more than I can say right
Yeah, I don't want to let you I don't want to rat you guys out or anything.
now. It's
whatever
okay.
you whatever you can't say, that's completely fine with me.
I'm expecting Jake Burns to design the jerseys for next season. He's doing the city editions. I don't know anything about what Jake Burns is doing, but I'm excited because all his shirts are so fire. But I do know a little bit about this fan section, but I might tell you off the air.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think the most important thing for you coming on is to talk about the Platoon Battalion.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you putting on the whole garb right there.
Oh
You got.
yeah, I got it all on. I got my little
Yep.
medal. Oh, it's crooked. But yeah, I
Did you?
actually am working on a 2.0 version of this, but it's
Oh,
not
okay.
quite ready yet. So I didn't have it ready for the pod. But maybe if you catch me at Staples Center, you'll see it.
Yeah. So did you design that one like all yourself? Like, was it kind of like stuff you found like I don't know around like thrift shops or stuff like that? Or
So yeah, I had to because I was trying to get my wife to help me, and she could not understand the concept of what I was going for because I couldn't put it really into words like I want the jersey to kind of be like those vest things that French generals wore, and I want the like shoulder pads, the epaulets to be basketballs, but and she was just like she couldn't figure it out. So while I was working in my office, I kept making little like Project Runway doodles of what I was
mm,
talking about to kind of figure it out. And yeah, then I went to Goodwill and I bought an oversized jacket and I cut it up and to make it like a tailcoat look. And I sewed on all these like little basketball buttons that I found. Oh, I have them on my sleeve.
mhm.
And yeah, I kind of cobbled it together. A lot of it is not that high quality of work, so if you looked at me too closely, it might fall apart under scrutiny. But that's why I'm getting a 2.0 and a little bit more assistance from my wife's grandma.
So do you like make costumes a lot, or is it just just like out of the blue, just like doing this one thing and see how it goes?
Uh, I have never made a costume. I mean, like I dressed up for Halloween, but this was like a first. You know the Locked On Clippers podcast, and Joseph Ryer Ward invented this Batum Battalion. They coined the term, and they had that T-shirt contest where they had you design like T-shirts, and they would have the best one made and give them out. I submitted like a ton of those through like bad Photoshop that I also didn't know how to do. But I was really excited about it for some reason. Then, um, and then I didn't win. Obviously, Eddie Malden won because he's an actual artist and he's good at this stuff. And then they did the free T-shirt contest. I didn't win that either. So I was like, you know what if I were to make my own Batum Battalion full cosplay? And I kind of got the idea in my head, and just something is wrong with my brain, and it made me actually see it all the way through. So, uh, the rest is history. I thought I was just going to wear it to like a Buffalo Wild Wings or something. That if the Locked On Clips guys had a watch party or something, and no, they actually didn't. So I wore it to a playoff game, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I think it was crazy how it just kind of came out kind of like through the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and then it came out on the broadcasts with Brian Seaman
Yeah,
when I forget, was it Batum we hit the shot, and he said Batum Battalion assemble.
yeah. That was so great because yeah, the nickname was catching on. Batum was on fire. I mean, to start the year, he would like could not miss from three, and then obviously he's so good defensively, and his like little quick passes are amazing. And Brian Seaman is so fun and great at announcing with all his coffee puns and everything. So he took the nickname, and then I think I think he's the one who let Batum know about it. Because then in an interview, I saw that Batum he said it early on that he loves the Batum Battalion. So it was the creation of it was wild, and and it's all those Locked On Clips guys and Joseph Fry Ward were pushing it through, and uh, they made something amazing, and it was just the best.
Yeah, shout out Charles Mockler and William Updike from Locked On Clips and Joseph Wyatt
Exactly.
Ward. I mean, it can be funny at times where just like stuff kind of just breaks through and just becomes more like bigger than anything that we really could have seen. And especially with you with the Spectrum News segment, because I kind of want to know how that happened too. Like, were you contacted by them about it?
Well, yeah. So the Spectrum News segment, it was right after I had tweeted out that I was wearing it to the third game versus the Jazz. And Locked On Clips had retweeted it, and Joseph Ryan Ward had retweeted it. So all the like Clipper big podcasts had retweeted it, and then eventually this reporter Timothy Parker reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, people seem to love this. So if the Clippers win, if they get to the third round, the Western Conference Final, I will. I want to do a story on the Batum Battalion." And so that was wild. And then he came to my house to watch Game 2 versus the Suns, and he's sitting like right next to my TV with a camera on me, which was very strange. And I'm trying to like react normally to the game, but then also bigger. And then we just had that devastating loss on the Valley Oop to end it. So I was trying to compose myself too after losing my mind when Paul George is like getting us back and putting us up by one. Uh, oh my goodness, it was a roller coaster.
You had to be reserved for cable TV.
Yeah, yeah, no, I couldn't be cussing. I'd get an FCC fine or something.
Yeah, but yeah, that's really cool because it's something that just started off as kind of like a little thing on the podcast, and then it kind of grew and grew to getting on Staples, getting the news segment, and I think I think you were on the Jumbotron, and I think you were on ESPN for one of the playoff games. I think I'm pretty sure they did like they
Mhm.
showed you on the Jumbotron and stuff like that.
That is wild. Uh, I don't know if I was on ESPN. I Some people were talking to me about seeing me while watching the national broadcast, but I was at the game, and when I'm at the game, I cannot think about anything because I'm first of all I'm blessed to just be there, and then I'm just awestruck and I'm yelling my head off. So it's just I know some people who had seen me on Twitter, who I interact with all the time on Twitter, like would come up to me in the hallway and they'd be like, "Oh, it's me," and I'll be like, I just freeze up and I have no way of talking to them because my brain is just melted. So, but yeah, they definitely put me on the jumbotron, and they did that split screen with Nick Batum, which was amazing. I mean, all of this is just me being so lucky and blessed, and the people at the Clippers like genuinely care about the product, and they try and do amazing things for the fans. And I was just the lucky recipient.
I mean you deserve it, man. You put in like all the effort, setting up the uniform, creating
Thank
it,
you.
going to the games and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But I appreciate your level of dedication for this team, and it's paying off. It paid off last season, and hopefully it's going to pay off season after season.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, no, it's wild because I was very afraid to put it on the first time, and I almost didn't do it. My wife had some girlfriends over while we were like leaving to the first game, and I did not want to wear it in front of them. I like had it over my jacket and I sprinted to the car. So and I was like, no one's gonna even get this. It's gonna be so dumb, but I'm just gonna take a picture and I'm gonna like tweet it out, and that's it. But yeah, then it spiraled from there, and like I said, I'm just blessed.
Yeah, it's really great, man. Like it's something that I felt kind of was, very truly organic, and I think like truly a Clipper thing to have something just to be on a podcast and then show
Yeah.
up on the national televised broadcasts. I think that's the most Clipper thing that you could ask for at this point.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I don't know how the players handle it. I was exhausted going to the home games only every and like screaming for them. I can't imagine playing every other night, traveling to different states. I mean, it was wild, but yeah, it was just more than I could have dreamed in my wildest dreams.
Yeah, I mean it was a fun season last season, but we got that out of the way.
Yeah,
We've had the off season right now, training camp starting. And
100%.
for me, heading into this season, there are a couple of different storylines going into training camp, going into the start of the season, and I'm just curious on kind of like what you're expecting or what kind of storylines are you looking for like before the season starts.
Um, well, so anybody who listens to this should know that I'm like a total homer. Like, don't take my opinion seriously. I think we're gonna be the best, but one of the big things that I keep thinking is this Brandon Boston Jr. guy has got me so hyped. I think he's gonna be the second coming of Paul George to this team. I have no idea. Like, we drafted him 52nd. I didn't even know who he was. I don't follow college basketball hardly at all. But just watching him in summer league now, I'm totally hyped for that. A more reasonable expectation I have is for I think Luke Kennard has everything built around him to succeed, and I really have faith that he will. I think he really showed out in the playoffs. Like, once he kind of got out of his own head and it's like, it's go time, bro. You gotta start shooting. I think it really helped him, and you saw him win us a couple of those games. I don't think we would have even gotten out of the Dallas series if he hadn't had that big game. It was either game six maybe or game
He had a pretty good game, game
mhm.
7, where
Yeah,
they kind of put him out there and he kind of, I think he scored almost like 10 or 12 points, I think.
yeah. Just in like that final quarter, and it like saved us. So I think he'll have the ball in his hand a lot more, and I think he'll be um, really effective with it. I think he'll live up to his contract. But like I say, I think everyone's gonna be the have the best season ever. So uh, who else? I think Terrence Mann is gonna be great, but we all saw what he can do in the playoffs. I I don't know. I'm just really hyped. I have so much fun off last year. I could just, if they showed up to the Staples Center and just played checkers at the court, I would like be there screaming for them. I love every single one of them. So uh, I don't even know. I I am a little bit disappointed that Kawhi's out. Obviously, I mean that's one of the biggest things you have to look for. But because I'm convinced that we would win a championship with Kawhi this year. There's no one I'm really afraid of except for maybe Brooklyn in the finals. But once we're there, anything can happen.
Yeah, and with the Brandon Boston Jr., because
Mhm.
I do follow college basketball. I think probably more than
Yeah.
most people, just because of with people coming into the draft. I think it's
Hmm.
good to kind of watch, uh, not all, but just like some of college basketball to kind of get a feeling of where these guys are at that are going to be potential draft picks. And
Yeah.
so I remember watching Brandon Boston play a little bit at Kentucky,
Mhm.
but with him, because overall Kentucky last season it was a mess. Like it
Mhm.
was a disaster. It was probably one of the worst teams that I've seen them play in like
Mhm.
in a while, because I don't know if it was just because of just like the COVID situation or just maybe their recruiting wasn't that good. But overall, I think him falling that low or that far into the draft, I don't know, I wouldn't say that it would be his fault entirely, because he didn't have a good season at all at
Mhm.
Kentucky. But the skills are there, the just the offense, just like the gifted offense that he already has at like 19.
Mhm.
Like that's something that you're not going to be able to kind of teach quickly. Like it's very impressive, like the moves that he has already to get
Definitely.
to get separation, to get to the basket and stuff like that, even with him not being that really strong. Like he doesn't have a lot of weight put on him.
Yeah.
But I saw a little bit of kind of like the skills that he had. I mean, because he's 6'7". That's also
Mhm.
something you can't teach. He's
Yeah.
long, like he's quick. I can see a little bit of like the defense versatility that he can have, but it
Mhm.
just depends on how his body grows uh throughout his career. But at 50, 51 or 52nd, it's like you're really got nothing to lose taking a guy that young with that much potential, like
Mhm.
at that at that second round. But I think the Clippers I think they did well considering of what they were going into in the draft, because I didn't have Keon Johnson on like the list of players that I think that Clippers should get, because I didn't think we would be in that uh, position to draft him at that like
Yeah.
low, because he was supposed to be kind of like in the top 10, and like he dropped all the way to 20. But
Mhm.
with him, I can see it pretty clearly that, like, one, his athleticism is just insane.
Mhm.
Like he's got the highest, I think he measured out the highest vertical in the combine, like better than
Yeah.
Zion. Like that's pretty
Mhm.
crazy. And then also, the defense already with him is very intriguing and very good start for someone who was also, again, like 19 years old, to have that uh defensive awareness at that time. I think
Mhm.
that's going to bode very well for him. Then I think the main thing about him was about his shot, his like jump shot.
Yeah.
But like
Mhm.
looking at it in summer league, like it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
Like
it
there
looked
wasn't
good.
any. Yeah, it looked pretty good. It just wasn't hitting consistently, and I think
Exactly.
that's like kind of like the same situation with Terrence Mann. Like he'll have to get more comfortable, just like hitting it consistently, because I think
Yeah.
it looks fine. But I think overall, the Clippers have done pretty well in the draft, and also this offseason. They've made a lot of moves. They've had to trade, unfortunately, Patrick Beverly,
Yeah.
but to get Eric Bledsoe, for him to come home, come back to
Mhm.
LA, I think I was more high on it than most people, because just of his, availability is, extremely important. You're still getting that defense as well.
Yeah.
Probably not the same amount as, Beverly, but
Yeah.
who's going to do that the whole 48 minutes of the game? Like there's only one person who can. But yeah, with the amount of new pieces, like who do you think is going to kind of stand out or kind of break out for the Clippers?
Um, I'm a big fan of Bledsoe when I'm not comparing him to Patrick Beverly. Like when I'm comparing him to Rondo, I'm like, wow, this guy is gonna do the Rondo stuff that we wanted last year. But obviously it really hurts my heart that Patrick Beverly is gone, but I think Justice Winslow I'm hyped on too. Like I've seen all his Instagram videos, and when any other fan base posts Instagram videos, I'm like, nah, that's not gonna happen. That's fake. And then when our guys do it, I buy it every single time. So I don't really know, but Justice Winslow looks healthy, and if he's like playing point guard and he's got his defense and he can shoot like 38% from three, I think he could be a huge X factor. I mean, we needed another kind of switchable wing guy in last year's playoffs, so I think he could be huge for us.
Yeah, and I think with Serge is kind of not. I don't think he's 100%, but I think he's going to be ready for the majority of the season.
Yeah.
But when they were trying to figure out about, you know, they really needed a backup center that
Mm-hmm.
could possibly be a backup center in like a couple games.
Yeah.
And for me, I always feel that you can do a lot with younger players because of the potential that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so with me, I'm like, okay, there really isn't that many like good centers available, like kind of like veteran centers that you would kind of want for a contender.
Yeah.
And so, instead of that, you can go in a different direction. And, they were talking about Giles and Hartenstein. And, judging from what I've seen from both of them, like I really like Hartenstein. He's almost similar to Zoo, but maybe like a little bit faster, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He has that. He also has a little bit of playmaking that can be really useful for the bench and stuff like that. And I think this whole season is going to be continuing to develop the young guys to get ready for next season if Kawhi Leonard is not able to come back for this season.
Yeah.
Then and also continuing to build like the chemistry with the returning guys. And with that, it's important to, make sure that everyone's getting the minutes and then everyone is, healthy throughout this playoffs. Because if he does come back, I think that's a whole different scenario that we could have in May.
Oh, if Kawhi comes back and he's anything like his old self, like there's not a team in the West that scares me. I think we could take them all. I I have so much confidence in Ty Lue's coaching ability, and I don't think we have a lot of exploitable, like I don't think we put a lot of guys out there who can't be played, and I think every other team in the West is going to have to do that to some extent. And I think our small ball lineup just is the best in the Western Conference at the very least. But yeah, no, I'm super excited. I love Hartenstein. I love Giles. I've been seeing more Hartenstein than Giles recently in the media day stuff. So I don't know if that means anything. But only one of them was dancing in Serge's latest videos. So
Yeah.
that might tell us who won.
You got to be, it seems like you're in the club at that point if you're in the
Yeah.
video.
Yeah, because it was my boy Brandon Boston, it was
Mhm.
Keon, and it was Terrence Mann. So
Yeah.
along with him. So yeah, it was four guys I'm really, really hyped on. Um, but yeah, like I said, I'm just so happy that these team is all back together. That Reggie Jackson came back, Terrence Mann, or I mean Nick Batum came back obviously, and then we'll have Terrence Mann take another leap. I assume, and then it's just going to be great. The vibes are so good on this Clippers team. They really can't do anything wrong in my opinion right now. So I have so much confidence, way too much than I should have.
Oh yeah, the LA vibes always.
Mm-hmm.
coming 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know the answer to this, but the
Mhm.
last thing I want to ask about
Mhm.
the Clippers is, where do you think they finish at the end of this season?
Oof. Um, that's a hard question. Like if I'm trying to be reasonable, it's hard to know because Surge missed so much of last season. So we're getting a big boost from Surge. We're I hope that we can get Bledsoe back. We missed so much time from Paul George last season that I think we'll have hopefully more availability from, you know, uh, Patrick Beverly's old spot, and then Serge, our backup center. But then without Kawhi, it's gonna be tough. So I'm thinking maybe I want to say four, but maybe a 5 or 6. I really don't think we fall into the playing game. I think we're pretty good. I think we're better than Portland. I think we're better than the teams that would be around there.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in the same area with you. If the team is healthier than last season, I think that they could stay in between, possibly the 4th or 5th seed. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really good. If Kawhi comes back, I think they could probably, I guess it just depends on when he comes back and kind of like what their record is. But I think
Yeah.
they could probably slip into the 3rd seed, possibly. But, that's all just guessing if Kawhi
Yeah.
comes back. But, it's going to be a great season, looking forward to it. And, Spencer, I'm super glad that you came on and
Oh,
come to this podcast.
thank you for inviting me. I
Yeah.
had a blast.
Yeah. And, the leader of Platoon Battalion, you got to get your muskets ready and like
Yeah.
get
Uh,
everything, get all the infantry set up and enlist
exactly.
everybody for the start
Hmm.
of the next season.
Yeah.
And and before we go, I kind of whatever you want to plug for you, like you got anything going on, your Twitter handle, anything you want to do right now?
Well, yeah. Follow me on Twitter if you don't, at Clipper Spencer. But I don't have anything to plug really. I just the Clippers, just they're the best. And I guess if I had to say anything, it just, there's going to be ups and downs this season, but I think we should just realize that, we don't have our best player. So just enjoy the ride. This is like we're playing with house money for at least until he comes back. So I think we should just really enjoy this season and have as much fun as we did in the playoff run.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Spencer,
Mhm.
and I appreciate you guys for listening. If you see this on Apple Podcasts, please rate 5 stars. And we will see you next time on the Rob Safe Sports Podcast.